Right, this is a video for people at Main Roads who are responsible for the Fremantle Traffic Bridge project, or people at Main Roads who are responsible for managing and approving the traffic management plans. And I've got a question for you. Where have the cyclist detour signs gone? Now, if we go to the Main Roads website for the Swan River crossings, it's got this section on here saying that pedestrians and cyclists are going to be detoured via Stirling Highway. Okay, that's fine. Old Bridge is going to be closed. We're going to have to be detoured. Not a problem. Where are we going to go? Well, signs will be placed at either end of the bridge on both sides showing the detour route and bus movements. That's true. And in fact, signs were put in place when the work started, and signs were also put in place when the footpath across the Fremantle Traffic Bridge was closed. However, these detour signs have now been missing for a couple of months, and the question is, well, why? And at the same time that these signs are missing, there's a community consultation going on, and the communications team in the April 2025 edition said, how can residents prepare for the bridge closure? Well, they can walk or cycle to their destinations. Yep, okay, that's a good idea. How are they supposed to do this if they don't know where they're supposed to ride, if they can't find the detours? Why give out this advice if there's no signage telling them where to go? So that just seems to be faintly ridiculous. I want to make clear when I'm doing these videos who or which type of cyclist I'm talking about, because you can roughly break cyclists down into four groups. There's this concept of the 8 to 80, so that's ages. So you want to have cycling infrastructure that's suitable for little kids and old people. And you got people that are interested but concerned, they're worried about riding on the road, etc. They want to be riding in separated infrastructure. And by that I mean grade separated infrastructure. You've got enthused and confident people. They're happy riding in a bike lane, but they really don't want to be on the road. And then you've got the strong and fearless cyclists who are happy riding on the roads in traffic. And I've got to say, everything I'm doing here is not about the strong and fearless people. It's about everybody else who wants to cycle in safe, separated infrastructure. And I think the easiest way to demonstrate these types of cyclists is with the Premier and the Minister for Transport. So, the Premier is a keen cyclist. He's strong and fearless. That Instagram photo on the left, he's actually doing a charity ride with a mate of mine in that photo. And he can confirm, my mate confirms, that Roger Cook is a strong and fearless cyclist. Rita Saviotti, I'm not so sure about that. Can't see any photos of her in social media on a bike. I think if she went down to this project and was put on a bicycle and was asked to ride through the detour, she would not have a very good time. Whereas Roger would probably go down Tideman Road, turn right across the old Fremantle traffic bridge with the traffic, no issues whatsoever. In fact, this might be an interesting test. The next time the two of them are inspecting the project, maybe ask them to bring a bike or give them a bike and get them to ride through the detour that's set out in the traffic management plan and see what they think, see if they find it acceptable or not. Roger probably wouldn't be too fussed about it, but Rita, yeah, she might have something to say about it. So why is detour signage necessary for cyclists? Well, this is the route that cyclists used to take, not the strong and confident. They used to ride on the road, but used to go down Pier Street, cross over Tideman Road, which is a shocking crossing, and then go on the path around the back of the Swan Hotel, and then over the footpath on the bridge. Now, of course, that path was closed some time ago, so let's just update the route now. And what you've got to do is you go down to Tideman Road, and there's a couple of ways you can do this, but essentially you turn right, and I'm not sure whether you're supposed to stay on the footpath or get on the road. I mean, less confident cyclists would take the footpath, but that's never been clear. And then you cross over that way, heading south. And then the next thing you want to do is cross onto the southern side of Tideman Road, head towards the Stirling Highway Bridge. Now, you do that on the footpath, and then when you get to the Stirling Highway Bridge, there's a path that goes around the side here like this, and then that gets you onto the footpath that goes across the Stirling Highway Bridge. Okay, that's all fine. And this used to be signposted. So let's have a look at what the initial state of the signage was. Now here's the corner of Pierce Street and Tyburn Road. You can very clearly see there's a 3-part detour sign back on October the 7th, 2024. And notice how it's a 3-part sign and it's got a cycling symbol on it. This sign or type of sign was actually very useful. Unfortunately, also very rare. Now, when we get to Queen Victoria Street, there was a pedestrian detour sign, not a cyclist detour sign. Oh, sorry. All the signage you can see in this photo is now missing. This pedestrian sign telling us to turn right across the crosswalk is now missing. The other signage on the corner of Tyburn Road is also missing. Coming in the opposite direction, this sign telling you this is heading north, that sign is missing. And when you get back to Pierce Street, the sign that was telling you to turn right up Pierce Street is now missing. So if we have a look at the map, you can see there's half a dozen missing signs at these intersections. And the last time I could find them in any of the video I've got was October. So that's about 6 months of missing signage. I don't know if it's been actually missing that long, but here we are in May and it's still gone. So let's go back to this question. The detour signs were there, now they're missing. Why? Okay, well, let's read through this and think about it. Was the signage, or was all the signage I've just shown you in the photos in the original traffic management plan? Let's assume yes it was, but this is where I guess the traffic management plan people at Main Roads can actually go back through the records and check this. Now, has the TMP been amended at any time to remove these signs? And let's assume no. So if the TMP hasn't been amended, where did the signs go? Who's supposed to be carrying out signage inspections? How often are these inspections supposed to be carried out? Is it daily, weekly, monthly? Because it's not just cycling and pedestrian signage that's all around this project. There's also lots of signage for drivers. There's lots of traffic cones. There's variable message signs. I'm assuming there's got to be people carrying out regular inspections of all that signage to make sure it conforms with the approved traffic management plan. Now, the people who are doing these inspections, assuming someone's doing them, do they have a written checklist? How do they do it? Do they go around with a clipboard with a checklist? Do they have the traffic management plan that shows all the signage, or does the checklist have locations and sign types and they have to tick a box to say, yeah, there's a pedestrian turn right sign at this corner? What do they got? Who at Main Roads, though, is responsible for ensuring these inspections are carried out? Because, look, I'm assuming they're not carried out by Main Road staff. That'd be the contractors, the traffic management people. So is there someone who's assigned to the project from Main Roads or from the Alliance who's responsible for overseeing the contractors and making sure the work is carried out properly? Who is that person? Now, how are these inspections actually supposed to be carried out? On foot? Do they just drive around in a vehicle and have a look and hope they can see stuff as they drive around? Or are they doing pertinent inspections by bicycle? After all, if it's a bicycle detour, wouldn't the logical thing be to actually inspect it from a bicycle? Now, what records of inspections are held on file for audit purposes? Are there any? Has anyone had a look at them? Now, I guess this one gets interesting for someone like the finance people or internal audit. Are invoices being approved for work that hasn't been delivered? So if the traffic management plan says that the signage is supposed to be in place, and the contract says that inspections are supposed to be carried out on a regular basis, and the signage isn't there, and the inspections aren't being carried out, why are the invoices being approved? Who's approving them? What inspections or oversight are they undertaking to ensure that the invoices can in fact be paid? All right. Now, there's an alternative explanation, and that is that the TMP was amended to remove the detour signs. Well, in that case, what was the reasoning behind that, and who approved it? Now, is that reasoning documented? Can I FOI it? Was a risk analysis carried out, or a road safety audit when that decision was made, or prior to that decision was being made? Now, something for the communications people. How does this decision, well, let's assuming that the traffic management plan was updated to remove the signage? If so, how does that decision align with public communications that signs will be placed at both sides of the bridge? Because remember, that's what it says on the website at the moment. Now you could argue about, where the sign should be and all that kind of thing, but it says there's going to be signs there. You'd assume that would refer to the signs I've just shown you all the photos of. And also, how does this decision align with advising residents in the April 2025 communications flyer, whatever it is, that they should walk or cycle instead of driving if they can't actually find a detour? It does not make sense to put this information on the website, to produce these communications documents, and then not back that up with signage on the ground. Now, let's assume that there should be signage out there. The traffic management plan states that all those places should have signs, and someone's going to go back out and replace it. Can I please ask that these larger frames are put out, these three-part frames, and that the cyclist and pedestrian symbol signage is incorporated in them? Now, this is a photo that was taken in the last month for work that was done on the principal shared path near the East Perth train station. That's a good sign. If all the signs were like this, there probably wouldn't be an issue. Now, the pedestrian sign could be replaced with detour, but at least say, this is directed at both cyclists and pedestrians. This type of signage was also used for the Borloo Bridge project and was very successful. And I think a lot of the issues with the detours could be resolved if, if the contractor was simply instructed to use signage like this in all locations, which it's large, it's clear, we can see exactly who it's directed at, you can see it from a mile off, and it's very useful. Okay, so that's an interesting little bunch of questions for someone to go through, and be interesting to see what the response is. And here's the state of play as of Sunday. So there used to be a map over there on that pole. Pretty useless map. It was the wrong way around, but it's gone, and no one seems to be checking that it needs to be replaced. Now, the signage might have been removed because the street was blocked off for a while due to a building going up in flames, but the Pierce Street has now been open for a couple of weeks. And if it was removed because of the street closure, well, the street's open now, so the signage can come back. So as you can see there on the end of Pierce Street, signage is missing. Here we are at this crosswalk, signage is still missing. And then when we go across the road heading south, there's just this map here, which is now almost completely overgrown. If someone was coming and having a look, they'd see that shrubbery around the map needs trimming back so they can actually find it. And then there's actually some signage there. So that's what it looks like on Sunday, the 4th of May.